Hey everyone, and welcome to another Explainer. Today we're doing something a little bit different, but I promise you it's incredibly powerful. We're going to take a classic Hindi fable and break it down completely as a masterclass in business strategy. Specifically, we're exploring the real-world economics of long-term brand equity versus short-term greed. It's a fascinating contrast, so let's jump right in. Honesty is the best policy, right? It's a proverb we've all heard literally a million times. But let's be real for a second. Does it actually hold up in a hyper-competitive market? Is honesty truly the greatest wealth? Well, in today's Explainer, we're going to dissect a famous story from the village of Ranakpur to find the very real, tangible answer to that exact question. Section 1. The Wealth of Honesty. Building Brand Trust. So let's set the baseline status quo here. In this village, we've got two competing milkmen operating with entirely different business models, and the market dynamics between them are absolutely fascinating. It's a stark dichotomy. On one hand, we have our protagonist, Raghuveer, who sells 100% pure milk. His community trust is sky high, but his daily cash flow is incredibly low. Then, on the other hand, we have his rival, Bablu. Bablu actively adulterates his product. He sells watered-down milk. Because of this, his community trust is super low, but his cash flow, it's massive. He owns a concrete house, a car, the whole shebang. It is the classic battle between product integrity and margin maximization. Now, Raghuveer's market position is officially recognized. The village panchayat even honors him, publicly stating, "Raghuveer, even in today's times, you are so honest and don't mix water in milk. For this, we honor you." I mean, he has incredible brand equity. But here is where the friction starts. His wife, Kamala, is deeply frustrated. Why? Because this intense honesty is yielding a really low immediate financial return. While the entire village applauds them, they're still living in a dilapidated wooden hut. Section 2. The Seed of Greed. The Dangers of Social Comparison. You know, every business faces market pressures, but in this case, it starts with an escalation of envy. Kamala's focus completely shifts away from honest, steady labor and pivots towards searching for shady financial shortcuts. It happens in phases. First, she's openly mocked by her wealthy neighbors for lacking jewelry. Second, to overcompensate, she actually goes to a jeweler and spends her grocery money on fake gold just to show off, literally creating a total facade of wealth. And third, the final straw hits when she sees her neighbor Mahima's husband pull up in a brand new car. This relentless social comparison drives an absolute desperation in Kamala to seek immediate, unearned wealth. Section 3. The Adulteration Scam. Executing the Hustle. So Kamala decides that playing by the rules is just for fools, and she takes matters into her own hands. Let's look at the exact mechanics of the product fraud she commits to artificially boost their daily revenue. She orchestrates a sneaky backdoor deal with the wealthy rival milkman Bablu. Step 1. When milking their two buffaloes, she hides one full bucket of pure milk. Step 2. She takes the remaining bucket of pure milk and dilutes it heavily, adding 2 full buckets of water right into it. Step 3. She secretly takes that hidden pure bucket and sells it directly to Bablu for her own personal profit. Why? Because Bablu knows the premium value of Raghuveer's pure product. 3. That's the magic number here. Kamala presents 3 full buckets of milk to her husband. And here is the deeply tragic, dramatic irony of the whole situation. Raghuveer is so remarkably naive and trusting that he genuinely believes his 2 buffaloes just magically yielded 3 buckets of milk overnight, simply because his wife has a magic touch. He actually thinks it's a blessing. But look at what is actually happening to his core product now. The composition of the milk being sold to the villagers is only about 33% pure milk and a staggering 66% added water. The fiercely loyal villagers who trust Raghuveer's brand with their lives are now unknowingly paying for a product that is predominantly just tap water. Section 4. The Price of Deceit, a Cascading Market Crash. As we often see in the real world, bad financial decisions and fraudulent practices almost never happen in a vacuum, right? They compound, and they compound rapidly. What does Kamala actually do with the illicit cash she gets from selling the pure milk to Bablu? Well, she doesn't invest it wisely. Instead, she immediately falls victim to her own brother Vinod's double your money scam. He promises to double her investment every single month. This is a textbook Ponzi scheme. It perfectly illustrates the folly of seeking easy riches. Greed just makes you completely blind to obvious financial traps. Meanwhile, back in the village, the truth inevitably comes out. A deeply loyal customer, an elderly woman named Amma, finally complains that the milk is terribly thin. The villagers confront Raghuvir, and his world is just totally rocked. He spies on Kamala the next morning and catches her red-handed mixing water. In a really powerful emotional climax, rather than sell the bad product, Raghuvir pours all the watered-down milk straight into the dirt. But the damage is done. His hard-earned, generational brand trust is completely shattered. It is wild how fast a solid foundation can unravel. In month 1, Kamala discovers her brother Vinod has fled the city with all her illicit Ponzi money. Gone. Month 2, in a total panic to recover funds and build her dream house, Kamala commits identity fraud. She actually forges Raghuvir's signature to secure a massive bank loan. And by month 3, well, because she has absolutely no income to pay the installments, the bank manager arrives and forecloses on everything. Let's review the damage, because the tangible price of this deceit is absolutely devastating. Because of the defaulted loan, they lose their house and plot, which results in eviction to a tiny wooden hut. The bank seizes both of their buffaloes, meaning a total loss of daily income. They lose their farmland, leading to complete financial ruin. And most importantly, the lost asset of reputation. The villagers outright refuse to buy milk from them anymore. They're literally left with absolute zero. Section 5. Honesty always wins. The ultimate market correction. Now, just when it feels like all is completely lost, the story brings in the ultimate market judge to settle the score. A wealthy businessman who owns a massive city dairy arrives in the village. And he is furious. He completely rejects Bablu's heavily watered-down milk, realizing Bablu's quality has completely tanked. He gathers the villagers and demands to find the single most honest milkman in the area to source his entire supply. This proves a huge point. At a certain scale, you simply cannot fake genuine quality. The big fish demand real value. Initially, the villagers hesitate a bit because of the recent scandal. But then, Mahima, the very neighbor Kamala was so incredibly jealous of earlier, steps up. She tells the businessman Raghuvir was, is, and always will be honest. The bad name he got was not because of him, but his greedy wife Kamala. This public defense, which is backed by Raghuvir's lifetime of prior good behavior, completely restores his brand equity in the eyes of this major investor. So the really crucial point is what happens next. The businessman basically provides a massive bailout and investment package. He forgives the recent dip in Raghuvir's reputation. He purchases a brand new herd of buffaloes for him using his own capital. He establishes a direct, lucrative supply chain right to his city dairy. And ultimately, he empowers Raghuvir to build a massive, wildly successful, and completely honest business. Raghuvir's long-term investment in integrity finally paid massive dividends when he needed it the absolute most. Let's put these two life strategies side by side to wrap up our analysis. On one hand, you have Kamala's strategy. She chased short-term gains via fraud, which directly led to total asset forfeiture and ruin. On the other hand, you have Raghuvir's strategy. Despite intense pressure, he fundamentally maintained long-term trust and consistent quality, and that is what ultimately led to market dominance. It vividly illustrates the compounding interest of being an honest operator. Which leaves us with one final, pretty tough thought for you to take away from this explainer. Ask yourself, what short-term shortcuts are you taking today that might be compromising your ultimate long-term value? It's a hard question to ask ourselves, for sure, but as we've seen in the village of Ranakpur, the true ROI of your daily integrity is always calculated in the long game. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep learning.